You've been trying to make this one phone call all day, but the second you connect, a little hand grabs your shirt. Then comes the whining, the pulling, the meltdown. Your blood pressure spikes. You finally snap, cover the receiver, and scold them for being rude. You send them to a timeout to think about what they've done. In that moment of frustration, it feels like a deliberate attack. We assume the child is choosing to be selfish, ignoring our needs in an act of willful defiance. Because we interpret the behavior as a calculated choice to act out, our automatic response is to deliver a consequence. We use punishment as a tool to force them back into being good. But decades of psychological research show a consistent flaw in that logic. Punishing a child fails to teach them moral decision-making, and it certainly doesn't foster accountability. This flowchart illustrates the punishment loop. Instead of reflecting on actions, a punished child focuses entirely on the negative consequence they suffer. This erodes empathy and fuels anxiety. The main lesson learned is avoiding getting caught, which incentivizes sneaking and lying. It creates an external locus of control. The child complies because they fear the authority figure's reaction. Remove the enforcer from the room, and the good behavior vanishes, because the child never internalized why the action was wrong. If timeouts and harsh consequences damage trust and fail to teach pair habits, we have to look deeper. We have to figure out what is actually driving a child to act out, and what we can do to actually stop it. The chaos of a meltdown is a biological signal that the child has reached the absolute limit of their internal resources. This cross-section of the brain shows exactly where the issue lies. Executive functions like impulse control and emotional regulation live right here in the prefrontal cortex. It acts as the brain's braking system. In an adult, those neural brakes are fully wired, but a young child's prefrontal cortex is under construction, and it won't be fully developed until well into their 20s. When an impulse fires in a toddler, there is nothing there to slow it down. To a child, a passing thought doesn't feel like something that can wait 5 minutes. Without that biological filter, the sudden urge to tell you about a bug they saw feels like a life-or-death emergency that requires immediate action. By demanding that a 4-year-old sit quietly and wait their turn, we are asking them to execute adult-level emotional regulation using a physically unfinished brain. When we factor in that missing brain development, a child's actions take on a totally different meaning. Their behavior is actually a form of communication. Take that persistent interrupting. A young child's working memory is highly immature. When a thought pops into their head, they panic. They feel compelled to blurt it out that exact second because they fear they will forget it if they wait. This strategy guide from childhood development experts outlines an alternative to immediate punishment, a 3-step approach called pause, ask, and respond. You pause your own reaction with the immediate validation it craves, proving they have your attention, while allowing you to hold your boundary and complete your conversation. This isn't a magic trick. You have to practice this routine together during calm, low-stakes moments, maybe even role-playing with a toy phone. That repetition builds the neural pathways they need before a real emergency hits. By the end of the call, the disruption is resolved. You didn't rely on fear or threats. You simply gave a developing brain a physical tool to manage a biological impulse. The word discipline often gets confused with penalties and pain, but its true original definition means to teach. You wouldn't yell at a child for falling off a bicycle they're just learning to ride. You can't punish a child into having a skill they haven't acquired yet. You have to hold the seat, guide them, and let them find their balance. Transitioning from reactive punishment to proactive coaching builds a foundation of deep trust. Raising adults who possess the emotional tools